Amelia Earhart. Heard a lot about Amelia Earhart since I was just a child. I knew who Amelia Earhart was. And you should too if you don't. She was an American aviator, one of the world's most celebrated, who was the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. Few people in modern history have captured our imagination as much as the famed American aviator Amelia Earhart. Born on this day in 1897, she was doubtless a pioneer of her day. A skilled pilot when flying was a relatively new and daring endeavor. A woman in a field dominated by men. Earhart's legend was made, sadly, not as much by her piloting accomplishments as by her sudden disappearance in 1937, when her fame was still ascending. The 39-year-old famously went missing along with navigator Fred Noonan in the middle of the Pacific Ocean near Howland Island while attempting to fly around the world. The official search for Earhart and Noonan lasted 17 days. The U.S. Navy and Coast Guard searched for more than 300,000 square kilometers of the Pacific, an effort that became the most expansive search in history at the time. Her husband, George Putnam, led a private search in the months that followed. No verified trace of Earhart, Noonan, or the twin propeller Lockheed Electra plane has ever been found. Earhart was born in Kansas and began flying lessons at age 23, soon after taking her first flight. She bought her first plane a year later, and with it set the first of her many records. The altitude record for a woman pilot at 4,267 meters in 1928. She became the first female passenger to fly across the Atlantic. In 1932, she became the first woman to fly non-stop solo across the Atlantic, and the second person after Charles Lindbergh to accomplish the feat. Later that year, she became the first woman to fly alone across the U.S. and set the woman's distance record of 3,938 kilometers. And in 1935, she became the first person to fly from Hawaii to the U.S. mainland. Uh, by then, Earhart was an American hero, an international celebrity, and a role model for women and girls. Her premature demise has spawned countless theories, documentaries, books, movies, tributes, and a permanent place in popular culture. We'll never know what else she could have accomplished as she lived longer. But in her relatively short life, she created a legacy that has far outlived her. She developed, uh, sorry, she developed a passion for adventure at a young age, steadily gaining flying experience from her 20s. Amelia bought her first plane just 6 months after her first flying lessons. Earhart became the 16th woman in the United States to be issued a pilot's license, number 6017, by the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale. Aeronautique. She set a world altitude record of 18,415 feet, flying a Perron PCA-2 autogyro. That's when they had those propeller planes. I think they still do have propeller planes. Well, I think all planes have some sort of. Well, no, they have jet engines and then they have propellers. Earhart. Oh, and then what about those two brothers? Learn a lot about the two brothers. I bet you they're in the. No, they're not. There's two brothers. It was all about the planes with them too. They didn't go missing in their journey, but I think they helped develop the airplane. I can't remember those two brothers' names, but that's the two other famous ones that I think of when I think Amelia Earhart. After I talk Amelia Earhart or learn, I think also Bermuda Triangle. Something about the Bermuda Triangle, wasn't it near there? Something like that. They say that's where she got lost or what have you. Here's her signature. Presumed dead, aged 41. A presumption of death occurs when a person is thought to be dead by a group of people despite the absence of direct proof of the person's death, such as the finding of remains attributable to that person. Such a presumption is typically made by an individual when a person has been missing for a certain amount of time, yada yada. Do you think Amelia Earhart is still alive, or do you think, and that was their gimmick, or what have you, or do you think she really went missing and she perished? I'm not sure. If she hasn't perished, then they did a very well job at keeping her. It was a pretty smart idea. I mean, she could be potentially elderly now, and that was her lifelong career. She was a flight pilot, and all the way up, I assume that she was passed away, and she could potentially still be alive. And I mean, one day, even if she is still alive now, she will potentially pass away because she'd be pretty old by now. But at the same time, she could have perished too. Oh no, the Bermuda Triangle, wasn't that Aaliyah or whatever? The one Drake always talks about. The Ringling Brothers. No, that's the circus, is it not? The Ringling Brothers Circus? Amelia Earhart teaching students in Newark, New Jersey.